You can select anyone living or dead, but they must be a celebrity. Who did you choose to rule the earth? Cincinnatus. Twice granted supreme power, he held on to it for not a day longer than absolutely necessary, and for people asking why, let me explain. So I kinda took the question in a different direction. At first this seems to be another way of asking the popular question, which celebrity is the nicest, and if that were the question I 100% would not have answered Cincinnatus. I'm assuming that something terrible is going on that would require the world to unite together, like a common threat, aliens, etc. I'm not interested in who can actually unite the world to overcome the threat. I wanna know who can lead through difficult circumstances with supreme power and authority, and then just give it all up when no longer needed. I'm not saying that Mr. Rogers or Bob Ross or a lot of the other people mentioned here would keep the power. They are all the kind who would reject the position/assignment in the first place due to knowing their limits, and again, because they are super nice, kind-hearted people. I wanted someone with a proven track record of not staying a dictator after the threat has subsided. President would be Fred Rogers, VP Steve Irwin. Very few celebrities living or dead I wouldn't leave in charge to unclog a toilet. David Attenborough, one of the few people out there that I genuinely trust. Marcus Aurelius, of course, as Plato once said, we will not have peace until the kings become philosophers, and philosophers kings. Seeing his name just makes me think of my name is Maximus Decimus Meridius, commander of the armies of the north, general of the Felix legions, loyal servant to the true emperor Marcus Aurelius, father to a murdered son, husband to a murdered wife, and I will have my vengeance, in this life or the next. Kermit the Frog. Kermit could barely keep the Muppet Show on track, and was constantly one step away from a complete mental collapse. Is this really who you want in charge of all the world's armies? Captain Jane Luck Pickard. Assuming op wouldn't include fictional characters aside, this is probably the best choice I've seen so far. The majority of people seem to be picking celebrities solely on their moral character, albeit that's not irrelevant at all. Others are picking leaders from antiquity who'd find the modern world difficult to navigate. Pickard has knowledge, personality, and skills suited for high stakes, high pressure leadership in an industrialized world. He's already thoroughly educated in history, culture, and literature from Earth, along with boasting the impressive STEM background necessary to be in Starfleet. He has years of experience leading a community of people through a variety of puzzling, foreign, and dangerous situations. Pickard himself has a lot of experience with diplomacy, exploration, brushes with death, etc. Overall, he'd be a great candidate. Unfortunately, anyone who would accept this responsibility is unfit to rule. Such is the paradox of power and politics. This is a main argument of Plato's Republic, that those who wish to rule are inherently unfit. However, Op got around this by saying that it's actually chosen by you. As long as the person choosing cannot choose themselves, it gets around this. It stands on the idea that humans do not have the capacity to be right about thinking a certain way is the best to rule. Therefore none ever will be right about how they rule. So if they want to rule, they are always making a mistake. This is of course an idea born out of either cynicism or some emo moment the dude had back in his day. Everyone sucks, life is shit, etc. Wishing to rule isn't a simple thing that can be taken as is. If anything, the first way wishing to rule is interpreted as wishing to have power, and they are not the same thing. Also, wishing to have power isn't an inherently wrong or evil thing. More like wishing for power for the sake of self-interest is the most often brought up scenario. The guy who plays Bubbles in Trailer Park Boys. He must remain in character though, obviously. Nixon's head in a jar. Dolly Parton. I swear she's a nice lady. She's worth over $500 million from her investments, so she knows about business, and unless I'm wrong about her, she's nice. I just said that. Nice is very important, because you did say the ruler, to rule over everyone, so if they are going to rule over me, that I want them to be nice. DP it is. I highly recommend the podcast series Dolly Parton's America to anyone who isn't convinced that Dolly is the one for the job. That woman is a saint. Terry Crews, of course. Yeah. He's a real Renaissance man. I saw him on a talk show explaining that he cut down on his spending by putting an angry Terry picture in the front of his wallet. I thought that was brilliant, so I found an angry picture of him to put in my wallet. It worked. I would see his angry face and rethink my rash spending choices, and then my wallet got stolen. I sometimes wonder what the thief thought when they opened my wallet and saw angry Terry staring at them. Danny DeVito. I love and trust that man. You have to pay the troll toll. Jack Black. Leader of Earth. He'd be the only one that could stop an alien invasion realistically. Does it really matter, since the entire world has already submitted to the idea of one leader? A united world implies a single trading bloc, a single monetary system, and a single government. Wars no longer exist. Many of the philosophical problems that plague world leaders would no longer matter. Maybe the only real problems would be logistics, to solve world hunger and regulation, to prevent climate crisis, was thinking Gandhi. But given all that peace and love crap is irrelevant, the question is, what is the most important quality the world leader needs? Can have all the best advisors in the world to do the heavy lifting in respective fields. Not sure what really matters here. Someone in touch with what people younger than 60 think would be nice for a change. Well, stability is a huge issue in any empire/huge government. There are so many cultures and beliefs to account for, it's hard to comprehend. Basically any decision would be nearly impossible to do right. But even if this leader doesn't fail, what happens when they die? Would it collapse into smaller lines like Alexander the Great's empire? Would civil wars tear it apart like with the Roman Empire? Or would something new and more catastrophic than anything in human history occur? Abe Lincoln. He became a president after a lot of failures, so he certainly learned. He was a damn good wrestler in high school, so sorta famous. And, you know, he was a president, so celebrity seems to be covered. Noel Fielding. Every day will be fancy dress day, and all speeches will be made into a song. Jacinda Ardern. If 2020 has shown us anything, then it's clear that the privilege and burden of this task falls on the back of a woman. Morgan Freeman. He could narrate World War III. Fred Rogers would be chair of the Council of Elders. Minister of Art, Bob Ross. Minister of Music, Dolly Parton. Minister of Animals, Steve Irwin. Minister of Science, Carl Sagan. Minister of Health, Richard Simmons. Minister of Education, Jim Henson. Jon Stewart. Came here to say this, my only reservation is that I wouldn't want to do this to him. Arnold, because he's level-headed and can't be physically intimidated easily, but Bruce Campbell as well, to keep him grounded. Albert Einstein seems like a solid dude. I only just found out that he was real. I always thought he was a theoretical physicist. Martin Luther King. A true humanitarian. Stephen Fry. If you know who he is, then you know why. I'm going to cheat and say an ensemble. Monty Python. George Washington. Hear me out. Anyone offered a monarchy and turns it down works for me. Oliver Cromwell turned down the crown of England. He also committed genocide against the Irish, so maybe a few more virtues are needed. Donald Trump. Just to piss off the Reddit/Twitter hive mind. Queen Elizabeth II. She's the only person who can possibly be trusted with that much power. It's her whole thing. Do you know how many countries and armies that lady technically has full control over and does absolutely nothing with it? Come on. She's a nice lady, but she can't even run her family. Augustus Caesar. He held supreme power for most of his life and ruled justly, worked with the Senate to accomplish goals, and strove tirelessly to improve Rome, and spent vast amounts of his personal wealth to do so. It was said he found Rome a city of brick and left it a city of marble. George Mother effin' Washington. He helped liberate a country and then chose a noblest path for a leader to take by rejecting permanent power. Seems like he had what it takes. Good militaristic mind, noble values, the good of all ahead of his own, etc. But that's based on what I know of him. Maybe he secretly was a douche.